like the music simmer down, but whatever. We're gonna work with what we got. So my background, West Indian. Father is from Barbados. That's the country where Rihanna's from. My mother is from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That is the place where Wayne Wonder is from. If you guys remember him, a song from a while back. Beautiful place. The sailors know about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So that is that. My favorite genre of music, soca music. So today, first off, I'm Regina Clark, and I am on a mission to make the world a better place. And I'm doing that through mentorship, sharing resources, sharing things that I've come across along the way, sharing a few of my experiences so you also have some understanding of like how I got to where I got and how I, even improved my own life, the lessons that I've learned. So getting an understanding from that. But the way I'm doing it, my goal is to do it in a positive manner, explain things in a way that is not Debbie Downer, here's another toxic or negative thing to add out there in the world. I think there's just enough of that already, even though I know it gets more views, likes, whatever have you. People like that. That's just the way the world works, but not over here. I'm a glass half full kind of gal. I'm an optimist. There's a little bit of realism in there, but that's just the life that I really like. That's my vibe. So, all right. So for today I wanted to talk about green flags. Let's leave red flags behind. We don't need any more of that in our lives, right? It exists, but I think focusing on the green flags is simply a better way, and I will explain why. So for me, I am a I didn't retake the test, but a former disorganized attachment or fearful avoidant. So almost a year ago, I took this particular test. Actually, I took it before that, but I didn't really do anything enough about it. So what I did was took this test. I took it within this particular website, and you will hear me give them a shout out like a million times. Personal Development School by Thais Gibson. I took the test there. On her particular website, what she does is give you the percentages of your attachment style. So if some of you don't understand or haven't heard of attachment styles, they are basically kind of the way you move around in relationships. There is a secure attachment, and then the other attachment styles are insecure. So the secure attachment, usually you have a solid upbringing, you got all your needs met as a child. And again, remember, as a child, your subconscious is primarily built early childhood, 0 to 7 years old. You might hear 0 to 5 or whatever have you, depending upon which publication you're reading. So with that early development and establishing your subconscious, and that subconscious, that's 95 to 97% of the way we move around in our lives is driven off of the subconscious mind, which is primarily built in your childhood, where you're not going to be interpreting things correctly. You're going to just use your child brain to interpret things so you can continue to move through your life and feel safe and get your needs met. And think about that. Because you don't really know how to interpret things, you're going to interpret them incorrectly 9 times out of 10. And I highly recommend checking out a Thais Gibson's channel or a few other people who talk about attachment styles, that reputable people, so like the therapist, your psychologist, all of those folks, find their channels and listen to that. I think some relationship coaches do okay with it as well, especially if they had to get over it and improve themselves in that rate. So that's my take on that. So you have the secure attachment. It's the most ideal attachment style to have. So you're moving through life without a lot of these extra layers of maybe walls or clinginess or whatever have you. You have the anxious attachment style, which is it is more clingy. That's you know it for that. You have the dismissive attachment style, and it's more like emotionally unavailable. Give me 50 feet. Give me some space. And then you have disorganized attachment or fearful avoidance, same thing. And it's a little bit of both. So for me, I was majority disorganized attachment, and then it was probably like a mix of almost even-ish. I think anxious was slightly ahead, and then disorganized, no, dismissive, and then there was a little bit of secure attachment. So, which was quite interesting for me. But why it was helpful, and I took this particular test on personal development school, which I think is probably the best place to take the test. Even one of my friends who's a therapist, I had shared the thing out on Facebook, and she was like, oh my goodness, let me snag that. I'm gonna have my clients check that out. It was just better because it gave you the percentages. It wasn't like you're just this. You can get a better understanding of all the different things. So actually what I ended up doing is take quite a bit of the other courses for those other attachment styles. And it was quite helpful. So am I perfect now? Who is, right? But the tools that I gained from that particular ecosystem, because there's on-demand classes, there's also webinars, which is awesome. And then I was also still doing live therapy with my therapist. So as I recognize certain things, because in personal development school, when you go through the, you see the fearful avoidance, and then it lists like things you likely experience and things that you likely do or have come up. And we're all going to operate in waves, right? On a spectrum, right? So being that you have this nice clear list, and some of us aren't good with certain things, so having that clarity and being able to kind of check off a list to say like, yes, this works, this is me, this is not, this is not, this is not. You have a clean list of things you could work off of, and it gives you that clear path to actually solve the problems. Therapy is amazing with the person, but it takes quite a bit of time to really get to the root of the issue and solve it. For me, I'm a problem solver. I like to figure things out. Let's get her done. And personal development school definitely helped me do that. I like hands down best money I spent in a long time on this stuff. And I've read a lot of books and done a lot of talking, did therapy even before this, and just kind of worked on the one thing and then solved that, and then but there's still these other things. So really having an understanding of your full profile in a way is helpful to getting over the hump of certain things. And what did you say? You got it's data secure person after next person, data secure person, which is quite interesting because usually I would say I'm a fearful avoidant or dismissive attachment or person, but I'm usually quite level set. But then it's just like when there's things that happen around me, right? That's where like the guard, so that safety, the triggers or whatever have you, would come up. And I would say because of the tools you learn in this particular school, also therapy, but again, I was doing it at a faster rate because I had a clear understanding of all the things, because I was able to do my checklist to figure out what was applicable to me and then dig in a little bit more. I was able to intentionally work on things and do it every single day. Every single day for several weeks, several months, to get this new way of thinking, even the shadow work, reworking those things, noticing when I felt certain feelings, strong feelings, and being able to pause and evaluate it and then proceed. Knowing when I needed to, for me, I also stepped away from toxic environments, certain things, as I really started to build up my norm. What is my norm and how am I going to operate in the world? So I intentionally did certain things to give myself the secure environment that would help me to get over this. So that's where I flow right into this idea of focusing on the green flags. So, focusing on the green flags means focusing on the things you want for your life. Forget all that the long list of red flags and the things that you don't want, you don't need, and all this kind of stuff. Throw that list out, or before you throw it out, go down that list and create the opposite of what you, of that. So if it says, I don't want a man who lies, change it to, I want a man who is transparent and honest, and he tells me when things are coming up so we can work through them as a couple. Do that. But if you notice your relationship is perfect and there's no arguments ever, that doesn't exist. No two people are made the same. You need to have relationships where, you know, some things come up and you have to be able to communicate those things, or you have to be able to communicate your boundaries. You have to be able to communicate the needs that you have. And if you have a partner who's not communicating their needs, or friends, or your boss, or whomever, your co-workers, if they're not communicating the things that they need to either do their work, the best work they have, or to be fully present, to feel safe in the relationship, if they're not communicating the things that they need, it will be almost impossible for you to meet them, even if you really want to, or impossible to find a compromise that can work for the both of you if they're not communicating them. So that's where I say you really have to think about the things that you need so that you can actually communicate them, and then you could get them met. If you only focus on the things that you don't want, you're going to notice those things when they come up, but are you going to be ready to communicate about what you do want so you can remedy the situation? And also, it doesn't feel good to only hear what somebody doesn't like or doesn't want in their lives, and it pertains to you. You can start to feel not so great about that particular relationship. So if you're only arming yourself with negative stuff in relationships, it's not that great for the other person. So you want to have a mix. What do they see? 5 to 1, 5 positives to 1 negative, something like that. Look for the experts on that one, but it is a ratio that you really do need to hear more positives than the negative to really, you know, make certain relationship dynamics work out for the positive. So that's that. So I am looking at my notes. So when you're focusing on the green flags, you're essentially giving yourself the vibes of a secure environment, and that's what secure folks had, is they got their needs met. They felt safe. So when you're very clear on what your needs are for you, what you value, then you're more able to, one, notice them, and you'll be able to communicate them, and then you'll also be able to, in the absence of seeing it, you'll be able to communicate them clearly and in a way that's not from a place of lack or fear or whatever have you. It's going to be a place of abundance. Like, hey, I really like such and such. You used to do this, or maybe you don't say it like that, but I really like when you bring me flowers. Like, that's something I really appreciate. I like pink or purple, whatever you want to call this color. So yes, you really want to notice the things that are the things that you like, the things that you value, and you want to be able to communicate those things. And in the absence of it, you want to still be able to communicate them, but in a way that is not negative. So, and I believe this is all in alignment with the whole idea of law of attraction. I believe in the law of attraction, living in the future state, that sort of thing. But I think it's in alignment with this. So green flags and being clear on the life you want for yourself, and noticing those great things and starting to feel the feelings of that state and embodying that. So therefore you end up getting it, because when you're noticing the great things and you're communicating those things, it makes the people around you feel good, and they're more likely to do more of it. So with that, so some say you have to notice, know the red flags and all that stuff so you can filter them out. I don't think so. Especially if you are like, were a former or are a fearful, avoidant, disorganized attachment, probably even dismissive, insecure attachment. Let's just name them all. I say this because you already got your long list of things and triggers and whatever have you, right? You want to think from that secure mindset of my norm is this great life. People treat me well. People show up for me. You want to make that your norm. You want your subconscious mind to make that your norm. So when people are operating or things aren't operating within your norm, you notice and then you can address it in a healthy manner. And sometimes if you were insecure attachment, you might address it in not the most healthy manner, and then it just kind of can make the situation worse. So I think I really hit all my key points for today. My trusted list. I like lists because it keeps me on time. So with that, I'm pretty much going to leave it at that. I mean, I would strongly suggest you create a list, get clear on the visions for your life, vision and values. Create that list of green flag items for key areas of your life and start to make that your norm. Really recognize that if you have to be very mindful of your environment and potentially remove yourself from certain environments for a moment in time, right? To strategically make focusing on the green flags and updating your subconscious mind the norm for you, then consider that. Like, be mindful of who you're venting to or talking to. Be mindful of how you're talking about things. For me, with my mom, I tell her now, she's like, oh, red flag. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not in that vibe anymore. Here's what I want in life. So right now, this person may be out of alignment with those things that I want, or this decision is out of alignment with the things that I want. So you can communicate with people who are around you about, like, hey, here's how I'm intentionally moving around in my life to intentionally change the course and make things better. You know, especially if you want beautiful relationships, then what you have to do is also change your views of the world and really imagine how you want to be in those future relationships. They say, become the person you want. I think about it within reason, right? But think about how you want to move in the world and become that person you want to be. Like, live it, start to act it, start to communicate that with the people in your life so that it all can become a reality. And I will say, my experience since really changing course has been, it's been great. Those who ain't with it, they either choose, self-select and remove themselves out, or I remove myself from it after going through the healthy steps and recognizing it's not a right fit, but I wish you the best. No animosity, but this energy isn't for me, right? So you have to know the vision and values for your life, start to practice it, and in some cases you will have to make the decision to remove yourself from certain situations, change your path a little bit, tell people, like, this is what I need, and sadly sometimes they don't fall in line. I hate to use that phrase, but they don't align with that vision, or they're not ready. I think that's really the thing, is sometimes people aren't ready for that change. But you would be surprised how this transformation it spreads. You'll start to notice other people start to pick up on it in your life, and some of their habits and ways of moving also change. Not to say that that's your goal, but when you start to operate differently, somehow positivity spreads. So it's a beautiful thing. Like they say, like, even on the other side, the whole toxic people, it just like spreads. But like, let's make positivity spread more. So this law of attraction, like, this is the vibe. Green flags, think about the positives, know what you want, get what you want, because that's what you're focusing on, and you'll notice it and you'll get more of it. And you're also communicating that's what you need and want and love. And a lot of times people want to give you that. So check that out. Focus on the green flags, focus on the positive things in life, recognize, notice when the bad feelings come up, and pause and start to rethink about it and really refocus on those values and visions that you want for yourself. I swear it's a great thing. So my recommendation, if you also want to explore more of this, check out Personal Development School. Check out the therapists, the amazing therapists that are out here on YouTube. I think it's so amazing. They're doing a lot of great work. Stay away from the red flag, red pill, pink pill, all the negative folks if you can, best you can, because when you're operating from a healthy space, you will get the things that you want. The life, the level up mentally is just a beautiful thing. So if you like what you heard here, definitely subscribe, like it. I'll talk about all sorts of contents about the betterment of life and living this life with good vibes and getting the things that we want and whatever have you. And I'll be sharing more about a company I'm building as well that's in line with this whole energy. So be well.